What's up, everybody? It's Jredd. I want to apologize for taking so long to get this out. There's been a lot of personal family things, which I won't get into because that's not why you guys are here. You're here because you want to listen to the next part of Dragon Ball Shift. So let's get on with it, shall we? Last time on Dragon Ball Shift, Garlic Jr. tried to take the throne from Kami by attempting to weaken Piccolo, who is connected with Kami, and then used the Dragon Balls to wish himself immortal. Foolproof, right? Wrong. Not only did Piccolo trick them into thinking he was more hurt than he really was, but it turns out that had Garlic not wished for immortality, each of the Z fighters may have been a match for him on their own. However, because he did, it resulted in him getting repeatedly killed only to regenerate. Well, this got old fast. And so Garlic opened up the Dead Zone, which, while giving him more power to wield, also only resulted in Garlic being equal to the combined might of everyone, until Gohan woke up and his rage was the deciding factor, that by this point was frankly overkill. So it was that because of Kami training everyone earlier, plus Goku and Chi-Chi being at least somewhat in agreement with the training of Gohan, that this potentially devastating enemy was reduced to little more than an annoyance, mainly due to his immortality, which was promptly null and void once he became trapped in the Dead Zone, and his own trump card was used against him. Following this, due to Kami having understudy guardians in Tien and Chaozu, the three of them were able to gather together everyone, and all lent a portion of their energy to reforming the dragon to be much more powerful. Not only that, but because there were a multitude of minds there thinking on how to best utilize this new power, it led to a couple of major improvements for the future. 1. The dragon now has a password which Kami will change yearly so that not just anyone can use them. In the event that the password is not known or forgotten by a righteous-hearted individual, each of the three Earth's guardians can relay the password to them via telepathy. 2. An ingenious and rather ambitious provision is in the process of being implemented. Basically, those righteous fighters who die but are able to keep their bodies may be able to have any excess energy they expel while training harnessed and transferred to the dragon. This could, in theory, push the dragon's powers even further beyond his original means. But it all depends on the complexity of the wish and how much excess energy has been given to the dragon, which will determine if the request can be granted or not. With this, let us now continue with Part 5 of Dragon Ball Shift. It is now 5 years after the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. This chapter opens up with Goku helping out his son Gohan with strength training for his tail. Though Gohan may not be quite as gung-ho of a fighter as his father is, his young mind is smart enough to realize the benefit of strengthening a huge weakness. Even Chi-Chi agreed once she saw Gohan able to somewhat fend off Garlic Jr.'s henchmen, until his tail was grabbed, that is. Because she saw it with her own eyes, she knew that Goku had a point that was hard to argue. Even so, being the protective mother that she is, it took every fiber of her being to stop herself from running in to save Gohan every time his father grabbed their son's tail and caused him to wince a bit. Gohan was a fast learner though. Not only was he soon evading his father's grasps, but able to retaliate through gritted teeth and defend himself, even when Goku had a good grasp on his son's tail. With that little weakness mostly sorted, it soon became time for the Sum family to head out for a little reunion with the gang over at Roshi's house. Chi-Chi was understandably apprehensive about visiting an old master who was known to have wandering eyes and hands, let's say. But Goku reassured her that while Roshi was harmless, Goku promised that he would be sure to protect his wife if the old hermit had a bit much to drink and tried to get a little too friendly. So it was that eventually all three of them huddled together on the Nimbus, looking forward to the friends, food, and fun that was sure to be had. When they arrived, they were met by warm greetings and familiar faces. Considering most had already met little Gohan, or at least heard about him, there really wasn't a need for introductions. Even Tien and Chaozu had managed to drop by. Though Tien wasn't usually much for social gatherings, Kami had let them know that he sensed something ominous, and that it might be good for them to be there just in case. Plus he said it's good for them to socialize more. Although Tien cringed a bit at this, he was honor-bound not to refuse a suggestion from his current master. Plus, he could see the childlike smile forming on his best friend's face at the prospect of visiting them all, and the mood was infectious. Soon, even Tien had a small smirk as he observed everyone having a good time. That is, until a sneeze was heard, and Blonde Launch came barreling through the front room demanding to know where Tien had been all this time. That awkward moment was cut short, however, when all those who could sense Ki suddenly tensed up and told those who couldn't to stay inside and hide. At first, they thought it was Piccolo, and even though they knew that he'd been training extra hard to keep up with them all, they soon realized it was far more sinister. For one, someone as cunning as Piccolo would probably try to hide his power and get the jump on them. Second, even though they knew Piccolo was formidable, they seriously doubted his gains were this staggering. Even so, it turned out that Piccolo was there. It's just that the other power was so overwhelming it was hard for the Z Fighters to focus on much anything else. So, when a deep booming voice made himself known, it pretty much threw everyone for a loop. Piccolo appeared and gruffly said, "I'm not here to battle you. Something stronger than any of us is headed this way, and if we want any chance of survival, we're going to have to put our differences aside and work together. I don't like it any more than you do, but if this planet is destroyed, our feud won't matter anyway. Anyone who can fight, follow me. We don't want this monster using any weakness as collateral, so we'll bring the fight to him." Roshi considered joining them for a moment, but thought better of it, figuring that someone stronger should stay behind and protect those who can't protect themselves, in case this new foe fought dirty. Gohan, being his father's son, wanted to go where the action is, but Chi-Chi would have none of it. However, she understood where Gohan's heart was at, and couldn't help but be very proud of him. So she said in a very reassuring voice, "Gohan, honey, I know you want to go, but think what will happen to our friends inside if nobody is here to protect them. We need to stay here and make sure they are safe. Otherwise, they'll be defenseless and your father won't be able to go all out if he has to worry about protecting us on the battlefield." Gohan hated to hear this line of reasoning. His heart wanted so much to help his father, but his brain knew his mother was right. So, Gohan compromised. He took a fighting stance at the edge of the island with ironclad focus as streaks of their friend's ki rocketed away, ready to face the fight of their lives. Chi-Chi and Roshi flanked Gohan on either side, hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. Back with the group of Z Fighters, they managed to land on an adjacent island that was far enough from Roshi's house that they could go all out without fear of endangering their friends. Piccolo hastily said, "Everyone get rid of your weights. We don't need anything slowing us down. He's got a tail and claims to be Goku's brother, so with any luck, that may be his weak point. Keep him distracted and go for the tail." In response, Yamcha piped up with, "And just how do you know so much about this guy? How do we know you aren't working together with him and going to betray us as soon as our back is turned?" Piccolo responded with an irritated scowl. "Save your anger for the battle. I encountered him first while you lot were busy partying it up. He said he was looking for something called a Kakarot. When I didn't have the answers he was looking for, he started to gather ki in his hand, and I was sure he was preparing to finish me off, until the little device on his eye beeped and he flew away. I can only guess he uses it to find people somehow. Maybe if we destroy it, it'll give us a small advantage in battle. Now prepare yourselves, he's coming!" Soon enough, Piccolo was proven right, and the sound of boots hitting the soft sand could be heard. Everyone tensed up as this strange being began to speak. "Well, well, Green Man, I'm flattered. Not only did you find Kakarot, but you managed a little welcoming party for me." Piccolo, however, was in no mood for playful banter, and got straight to the point. "What is your purpose in coming here?" So, the being responded with, "I suppose if you're all so eager to die, the least I can do is honor your last request by answering your question." So he did just that. The being introduced himself as Raditz. and said that he was Goku, or Kakarot's, brother. Explained their Saiyan origins and then finally got to the fun part of why he was here. Not only was he in the business of eradicating life on other planets so that they could be brought and sold to the highest bidder, but that he also needed his dear little brother's help on their next mission. Needless to say, Goku was appalled and vehemently refused. Raditz did not take that response well, and so the battle began. Raditz took a moment to scan everyone's battle power, and was mildly shocked by the results. Not only was the Green Man much higher than when he'd first encountered him, but it seemed that the others hovered around that level as well. One-on-one, he could dispose of any of them with relative ease, but together they could prove to be problematic. Taking a moment to appraise them all individually, he made a mental note of what the readings told him. The small, pale, childlike creature hovered at around the 300 range, but it seemed his scouter was having trouble honing in on the exact number. It was as if his aura emitted some sort of interference, making his reading slightly garbled somehow. The long-haired one with the scar had just finished discarding some type of training gear, leaving him standing at a 400, but it seemed to be rising slowly as he narrowed his eyes. He would never have believed someone could raise their battle power at will if he hadn't seen it for himself. But there it was, happening right in front of him. Next to him, the short, bald one seemed to bulk up slightly, and his power rapidly jumped from 390 to 460. Raditz was starting to wonder if his equipment was malfunctioning. After him, a tall, three-eyed warrior removed his weighted shirt, and his third eye opened wide, while his aura shimmered and glowed around him. His power was also difficult to read, but it finally settled at around 510. Next to him, the Namekian removed his turban and cape, revealing his own mildly impressive power to be a solid 515. Last but not least, there was Kakarot, his baby brother. He technically was above them all, but only just, sitting at 520. Though, as he studied each one, something in his gut was telling him that this was not the full extent of any of their powers, no matter how absurd that seemed. So, Raditz did something he never thought he'd do. He decided that he would take this fight seriously. He crouched low to the ground, letting out an earth-shattering growl as angry winds swirled around him, and his flaming aura pulsed and cracked in a deep violet hue. Yelling over his self-generated chaos, he said,
"I admit that you and your friends are more powerful than I had originally thought, but it won't save you. Allow me to show you how real Saiyan fights. Prepare yourselves, I won't be holding back."
And with that, I think we'll end this part here. I know, it's a terrible cliffhanger. But I really wanted to save the Raditz fight for its own part, so that there can be more focus on it and I can put more time into it, how everything plays out. I hope you understand, and for what it was, I hope you enjoyed this part. Be sure and let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this part so far. And what do you think about me attempting to do some voices? I know some were better than others, but it's just a way to kind of help differentiate between the characters and whatnot. So yeah, tune in next time for part 6, where the big showdown between Raditz and the Z Fighters will commence. Thanks so much for listening, and take care.